Okay, hi everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We're here with Michelle Harrison, who is the author of our August book, A Pinch of Magic. This is the first in a new series. I believe the second book is already out in the UK, or is coming out quite soon, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but, it was out in February.
In February, great. But this is newly released in North America, and we are so excited. We have a bunch of questions to ask Michelle, which Shanleigh has prepared, but we always like to start with just asking our author to tell us a bit about the book itself and kind of a quick spoiler-ish free recap, and then just how the book came to be. Michelle.
Okay. So A Pinch of Magic is about three sisters who are the Widdershins sisters. So for anyone that doesn't know, Widdershins is quite an unlucky word. It's associated with witches, and I thought it'd be a perfect name for my three sisters because they're very unlucky. So the sisters are Betty, Fliss and Charlie, and they find out on Betty's 13th birthday that they are under a family curse, so they can't leave the island that they're living on. And on that same day, they also get given three gifts which are magical. So they've got a set of Russian nesting dolls that you can see on the cover, and also an ugly carpet bag, a bit like Mary Poppins carpet bag, which can take you anywhere in the blink of an eye, and a magic mirror that can show you anyone, or you can speak to anyone using it anywhere. So they've got these three magical objects, and they decide that they're going to use these objects to try to break the curse. And so after that, there follows a prison break and a dangerous journey in which the curse is triggered, and it's a race against time. So yeah, the idea for this book came about through actually another book, which was all about it's all about folklore actually, and stories that are supposed to have happened around the UK. And so I came across this story about a little village which is not too far from where I live. It's called Canudum, and the story goes that there will always be 6 witches in that village, and whenever one of the witches dies, a stone will fall out of the church walls. And I thought this was just such a brilliant, creepy idea that I really wanted to write about it. So originally the Widdershin sisters were going to be witches, and I ended up changing that just to 3 sisters and a family curse, and the church I made into a prison tower, and then the rest of it kind of just came together as I was going along really. And there was quite a big edit on it first of all, so there was a lot of work to do, but yeah, we got there in the end and it all worked out pretty well.
Cool. That's brilliant. I love the fact that there is that sort of folklore that's happening in, is it Canudon you said?
Canudon, yeah. I'd never heard of it before. It's only 40 minutes from where I live, but yeah, I'd never even heard of it, but I've been there now, so I had a little visit.
Okay. And is that generally like the inspiration for Crowstone itself, or just the idea of the Widdershins?
Just the idea really. So the name of Crowstone comes from a local street called Crowstone Road, where I quite often park my car when I go to my library, and I just thought it sounded like a bit of a spooky place, crows, and you know, like crows are kind of associated with bad luck, and I just thought, yeah, it sounds like it could be an island or something like that. So yeah, it just kind of, it's like you kind of plant a little seed and then it grows branches, and yeah, and it kind of takes off from there. That's usually how my ideas work.
I like that sort of little Easter egg shout out to your local library. That's fun.
Yeah, it's actually closed at the moment because of the coronavirus, but it should be opening up again soon, which I'm really looking forward to.
Absolutely. So could you talk a bit about the relationship between Betty, Fliss, and Charlie, and how that it felt so realistic of, you know, they all love each other, but you know, they also do have their disagreements and such.
Yeah, that's probably because it's very much based on me and my sisters. So I'm the youngest of 3 sisters, and there's quite a big age gap between me and my 2 sisters because my mum was married twice. So firstly to their dad when she was a bit younger, and then she met my dad. So there's by the time I was born, my sisters were both teenagers, really. So I kind of grew up being the spoiled little sister. And I used to get read lots of stories, and every time my sisters got a paycheck, they would go out and buy me like the latest Barbie dolls and things like that. I was a very spoiled little sister. But we've always been really, really close. And I think I just knew that I'd be able to kind of get into that mindset of sisters, and the way that you can be the best of friends, but also sometimes the worst of enemies. So probably the worst arguments I've ever had in my life have been with my sisters. I think it's because we know how to push each other's buttons and how to really wind each other up. And I think that I've basically stolen our personalities for the Widdershins sisters. They're pretty much us.
As the middle sister of 3, I do relate to that. I know exactly what you're talking about. Did you find that you said you modeled the 3 sisters' personalities off you and your sisters? They sort of correspond to everyone. So do you find Charlie is similar to you?
Yeah. Although we're all quite animal mad, and we all do like our food as well. But I'd probably say that I'm Charlie. I kind of go along for the ride, but then I might come up with like a really good idea on the way. And our middle sister Janet, she's the really practical one that's usually got an answer for everything. And then my eldest sister Teresa is the really pretty one that's kind of got her head in the clouds and likes everything to be lovely and pretty and flowers. And yeah, it's just us.
I love that.
Well, the best things are always based from reality, right?
I think they are, yeah. Write what you know, that's what they say.
Exactly right. So did you find that there was a particular character, like either of the sisters or anyone else in A Pinch of Magic, that you really enjoyed writing most?
I really loved writing Charlie. I think she was a lot of fun. She usually has some good one-liners. Granny was a good laugh as well, because she's a bit, well, she's kind of off her rocker, really, isn't she? She just does whatever she wants to do. And also Colton, the prisoner that kind of gets in touch, he was really interesting to write, and I enjoyed doing his chapters. And then, of course, the person who actually sets the curse in motion, Sorcery, her chapters, I always looked forward to doing those. So that was a really nice break up of the main narrative for me to go back and do those chapters in the past. So yeah, probably those 4 characters are my favourites.
Yeah, I really did enjoy the Sorcery chapters as well, because they even felt like they read a bit differently than the rest of the narrative.
Yeah, a little bit more serious, I think.
Yeah.
And probably a little bit more historical in feel, obviously, because it's 100 years ago. But yeah, it's just a nice little kind of break up, I think.
Yeah.
And I've tried to kind of link that into the next book as well. So not Sorcery, but where there's sort of 3 parts to Sorcery's story. And in the next book, A Sprinkle of Sorcery, there is a secondary story within a story in that book too, and that's in 3 parts. And again, it's a very different feel to the main story. So that's something that I've tried to keep with all the books in this series.
Did you find the writing of those chapters like you had to sort of keep in the vein of that, or were you able to jump between sort of the Sorcery chapters and then the chapters about Betty and her sisters?
No, I was able to jump between really easily, actually. Something that, it's funny, when I was younger and I was at college, I would really, really struggle to work on multiple projects at the same time. And there'd always be one project that I'd kind of really hone in on and really work hard on. And then the rest of them I would just neglect and not really work that hard. But I think I've got better as I've got older with handling multiple things, and switching between those kind of narratives has never really been a problem for me for some reason. I think you kind of, I'm always plot focused first, and then I'll go back at the end and try and fix the characters and make them all a little bit more distinct afterwards. So that was something that I had to work on in the first draft, was making sure that the 3 sisters' personalities were very different from each other. So just exaggerating them all a bit more, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great accomplishment to have as an author, that you don't need to like stay in the same mind frame. You can sort of jump around, and
good to be able to juggle multiple different storylines, right? Especially with something like this.
Definitely, yeah, it's really helpful.
Gavin actually has a question. He wants to know if you plan to have a spin-off series with Granny as the main character, because he says that she is me in book form.
Oh, hi Gavin, that's a good question. I don't know about like maybe a whole series, because like Granny just kind of, all she wants is, you know, she just wants to sit around getting drunk, really, doesn't she? So I don't think there'd be many adventures, but maybe there could be something in the form of a short story, or like a World Book Day book or something like that. Hint, hint, World Book Day, are you listening? But yeah, something maybe like that. Yeah, but I do like Granny, but I think sometimes the best characters are the ones that leave you wanting a little bit more. So perhaps it's best not to over egg the cake and do too much Granny. I don't want you getting sick of her.
So on the vein of the fact that all three sisters have a magical item that, you know, does different things, is there a magical object that you own or wish you owned?
Well, I've got a crystal ball actually, but it's I've never tried to look into it and see the future. But I think I bought it to actually do a drawing from a few years ago. But it's so lovely that I just keep it anyway. But I wish that was magical. But if I had one of the Widdershins objects, I would probably choose the bag, because I think it would just be so handy just to zip here and there and everywhere with it. And especially now that I'm a mum and I'm just always in a rush everywhere and usually late, whereas I used to be early and on time before. But yeah, so probably the bag. But the dolls would be really fun as well. Could get up to some mischief with those.
Yeah, I feel like the dolls are the best designed to cause trouble, which is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
If anyone else has a magical object that they wish they had, either from Pinch of Magic or elsewhere, let us know in the comments. We'd love to know.
Yeah. I would want some sort of key that could open all doors, or like let me walk through walls or something like that. But like a nice old-fashioned sort of brass key.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that would be
snow globe that did something.
Oh, snow globes are lovely. I love snow globes.
I would definitely want the carpet bag as well, just because it's also like a little bit Nightcrawler-like, and I'm all about that. That sounds fantastic.
Val's saying she'd either choose the nesting doll or the traveling bag. I think both are super useful. The mirror is so cool too, though. You've created three.
Well, the mirror was originally, the mirror didn't go in till right at the end of the first draft, because the mirror was originally like a fox fur, like a scarf thing that was inherited down the family, which obviously Charlie was horrified by that, and she kept trying to bury it because it's like a dead animal. So I might use that gag elsewhere in the series, because I think that's quite a good gag. But originally, that the magical ability of that was to help Fliss to be able to steal anything without being caught. Just kind of literally walk up to somebody and take it without them seeing. But yeah, we decided at the end that a mirror would be more typically Fliss, even though, you know, there's lots of magic mirrors in books, but it's not especially original. But I thought it was more of a Fliss object.
True. Was there any other objects that you had sort of toyed with before you landed on the three that you did?
Yeah, there's a bit of a weird one actually. It started off that Betty's object was going to be a set of dominoes, and you know where you can line dominoes up and then you knock them over and they all kind of fall down in a row. So it was going to kind of be her object that when she set those up in a circle and stood in the middle and then knocked them down, she could disappear. So it was still invisibility, the power, but obviously the time it would take to kind of set up all the dominoes, it's not exactly very snappy. So yeah, that's why I changed it, and it was really lucky. Sorry.
Hard to
Somebody bought me a set of the Russian dolls as I was writing the book, and I thought, Russian dolls, and that's kind of how I got the idea. So it was a happy accident.
Gavin is saying that he would love a magical mug that would constantly refill with pumpkin spice latte.
Oh, yeah.
seasonal appropriate answer. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I've not had one yet, so I'm feeling quite deprived. I'll have to go out and look for one.
It's just the autumn equinox just a couple days ago, so we got plenty of time to break in all that autumn goodness.
Definitely. It's still actually been really nice over here in England. It's been quite, the last couple of days have been like summer still, so we're hanging on by our teeth because we don't get that much of it over here.
Oh, it's nice that you got a little bit of it. Considering how the summer sort of has gone, it's nice that you get a bit more of it now.
Yeah. Lovely summer and nowhere to go apart from the garden.
Sad but true. So you briefly mentioned Sprinkle of Sorcery, the sequel, which is already out in the UK, not yet out in North America here. But could you tell us a bit about what we can expect from that one? And is there going to be more than Sprinkle of Sorcery?
Yes, there is. So A Sprinkle of Sorcery follows the sisters on a completely separate adventure. So you could read it even if you haven't read the first one, although obviously it's better if you do read the first one first because you'll get to know the characters more. But it starts when there is an escape from the prison on Crowstone. And so they know that there's a prisoner on the loose. And later on that night, the sisters find somebody, a child, actually hiding in the courtyard of the poacher's pocket. And they decide that they're going to help this girl who's got a will-o'-the-wisp with her. And what happens after that is that the warders, the prison warders, come knocking, looking for the runaways. And Charlie accidentally gets sort of kidnapped by these warders. And it starts off an adventure where Fliss and Betty are on a mission to get Charlie back, and it ends up with being a mission with pirates and secret islands with magical maps. And I won't say any more than that, but it's witches again, and pirates and ghosts. So lots of adventure. I'd say it's probably got more action than A Pinch of Magic. And I'm currently working on a third in the series, which is called A Tangle of Spells. And that one's going to be even witchier than the first two. So the Widdershins are in a completely different place. They've moved away from Crowstone to a new village called Pendlewick. And they discover a secret room and an enchanted painting in this secret room. And I've still got a little bit of a way to go before I get to the end of that, but it's nearly there.
That's great. Very exciting. Jack wants to know, are the dolls still in it, in Sprinkle of Sorcery?
Yes, they are, and in A Tangle of Spells.
Oh.
So the dolls they run all the way through it. So those are the Widdershins' special object.
That's fantastic. I can't wait to read the next one. Val has already said that she really loves it. Gavin says it's his favorite so far.
Oh.
You got some fans in here.
Well, that's what we want.
So what do you find is the best part of being an author?
I think there's quite a few nice parts. So I think when you first finish a book and you think, yes, I've done it, I've actually got a whole book written down, that's always a pretty special moment. And then when you send it off to your editor, that bit is where it starts getting a bit scary because you're worried then that there's going to be loads of work to do and that your editor will think it's rubbish. And that never stops. It happens with every book. Hearing from readers that have enjoyed it, that's always a really good feeling. But I have to say probably the best thing is when you first receive your new book that's just come out and it's a real thing and you get to see the lovely cover and you're holding it in your hands. And then when you get to see it in a bookshop for real. So I think those are probably the top three things for me.
Speaking of the cover, we actually did get a question from someone who couldn't make it to the chat today, but wanted to ask about the different covers that you got for A Pinch of Magic, the UK one and the US based one.
Yeah.
Did you get an input onto either of them at all?
Probably more with the UK one. So my publisher kind of showed me pencil sketches. Well, the US one showed me pencil sketches as well. But with the UK one, they showed me sort of about 4 different ideas for completely different compositions. And they were going to go with like a mermaid mirror for the initial idea, but into going for the tower with the smoke going around it. And yeah, surprisingly they did that. So I think, you know, they listened to us quite a lot, and I knew the illustrator Melissa Castrillon anyway, so I knew that she was going to do a fantastic job. And then the American cover is just so completely different, but equally brilliant and lovely. And again, I was shown a pencil sketch, but it was just the one, so it was they seemed very focused on what they wanted to do with that cover. And yeah, so they kind of show you as it's going along, but I think a publisher mainly knows what they want and they know what's going to sell, so you really have to trust them, and yeah, just kind of go with what they want, really.
Yeah, I think both covers do still like definitely capture the vibe, just like in different ways almost.
Yeah, completely different. Is anyone there, would any of the audience like to see the UK cover? If they haven't seen it, I can just go and grab one.
That'd be great.
I'll go and
grab it. Do you guys have any questions that you'd like to ask Michelle?
Okay, we'll make sure to save time at the end for that.
Okay, so here's the UK one. So it's got a nice gold foil.
Yeah, I love the gold foil there.
Blue pages.
That's beautiful.
But yeah, so I think probably the UK one maybe looks a little bit older.
It does, a little bit.
And this one looks a little bit younger, but I think they both look really fun.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that they're both quite purple as well.
Yes. Yeah, that's a nice tie-in actually, a little bit.
Yeah.
I was just looking at just trying to find the illustrator name for this cover, and I saw on the inside that you illustrated this interior map yourself.
Yeah, I did the maps.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I actually did. My degree is in illustration, but I haven't really used it that much apart from on my own books. I kind of did all these art courses and then decided, oh, actually, I want to be a writer. So yeah, it kind of ended up going that way. But yeah, it's nice that I still get to use it, and I do my maps for my books and little chapter illustrations as well. But yeah, the illustrator for the US edition is Celine Kim. She's done quite a lot of different covers actually, but yeah, they're both really good.
It's amazing. You should consider doing a graphic novel at some point. You can tie both of your talents together.
Well, I think my black and white work is okay and publishable, but my color stuff still needs a bit of work, so
That's
yeah,
what a colorist is for.
yeah, true.
So did you also do, I guess that means you also did the map for the second one, which you can see in the OwlCrate edition underneath.
Yeah, I think that's a really nice touch, that you've got the second map in it's like a secret map as well. I like the fact that it's quite hidden, so yeah. I think I prefer that map actually because of the witch inside. That was my favourite part to do, the winking witch.
There you go. This is the first time
yeah,
included something on the inside of the dust jackets.
Oh really? Oh, I feel honoured. It's lovely.
So in terms of, I'm very curious about the Sorrow Isles, was it Repent, Lament, and Torment?
Yeah.
Where did the idea for those 3 islands come from? They're slightly dark, which I'm down for, but yeah, just curiosity.
I don't really know. I think I kind of knew that I wanted there to be a ferry, and I knew that that was going to be the only way on and off the island of Crowstone. And I just thought, like, if there was a prison, I kind of knew I wanted there to be a prison as well, and that the tower was going to be part of that. And then I think definitely Repent came first with the prison on it. And then I was just started thinking, oh, well, what if there was another one and then another one? And it just, like I say, it was just like a little branch thing that kept growing into these different ideas. And also I think because of the whole pattern of 3, like the power of 3 that keeps coming up in the stories, like the 3 sisters, the 3 magical objects, I thought it'd be nice to have those 3 little islands surrounding Crowstone. So that's kind of how it just ended up really, but I managed to stop myself at 3. I probably could have gone on all day and covered a whole map with all these little gloomy islands.
Not necessarily the worst thing in the world. It definitely like creates a fantastic atmosphere though.
Yeah, it's a really good place to write about, but it's not somewhere you want to live. So you can understand why they would want to move away, but it's definitely somewhere of so much potential, because when you think about all the prisoners in that prison as well, they'd all have a story. So yeah, potentially there could be some spin-offs with different prisoners maybe.
Oh, that would be fantastic. So are you working on anything else besides this series with the Wittershin sisters?
Yeah, I've got a younger series that's coming out with Stripes, Little Tiger in the UK, which is for readers of 6+, which is called Midnight Magic. And that's all about a little black cat who is magical, and her name is Midnight. And the first story is really about her finding a home and what happens when her new family realises that she's got all these magical powers. So yeah, that's been a lot of fun to write, but I made it quite difficult for myself because I've written it all in rhyme. So but it's probably only about the length of one of my chapters in A Pinch of Magic. The whole thing is that length, but because it's rhyming, it just took ages to write. But I've so far written 3 of those. But yeah, the first one's coming out on the 1st of October over here. So that's something quite exciting. And not something that happens that much for me, actually, to have 2 books out in a year. Normally it's 1 book a year. So yeah, good. And first time I've written for that age group as well.
Well, that's very exciting. And yeah, not many authors get multiple books published in a year, just like kind of overall. So that's very, very cool.
Yeah, that's a first for me.
Well, I wish you could go around and tour it. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like that's going to happen.
Oh, I know. It's going to be online tours. So I'm going to be doing a school event for that with some different schools. But again, it's all going to be done over Zoom or, some sort of chat facility. But so, yeah, a little bit different to what I'm used to. I'm used to going into schools around publication and actually meeting the kids and talking to them and showing them slideshows and things. But I think we can still do that to an extent online anyway. I can show them pictures of my cats and the things that have inspired the stories. So
that's true. Is there anything around that has inspired these stories? The
Wittershin stories, probably just that legend, I think, and yeah, just sort of different bits and pieces. So like obviously my sisters, and I'm a bit of a magpie when it comes to place names. So I use a lot of real place names in my books. So obviously Crowstone is real. You can see Skinny Woods on the map as well. There's a Skinny Woods quite near me. So yeah, I quite often use real place names. I think they're better than when you make them up sometimes, or perhaps when you just give them a little tweak and change one little thing to make it a little bit more whimsical and a bit fairy tale like.
Yeah, a bit more fit into the world you've already created.
Yeah.
That's fair. Are there any book recommendations that you'd have for everyone here?
Yeah, so I really liked Starfell, and I think that people that like my book would like that. So that's by Dominique Valente. That's about a girl, or a witch called Willow Moss, who has a very strange power, which that she can find lost things, and she thinks it's a bit of a rubbish power, but it's actually a really good one because a whole day goes missing and she's the only person who can find it. I think it might have been an OwlCrate book already. I'm not sure.
It was. I think it's one that I've talked about on. It wasn't one of our actual selections, but I think it came out last year.
Right. Okay. Definitely. Yeah, I think it was about a year ago in the UK. Yeah. And also I'm listening to one on audio at the moment, which is called The Thickety by J.A. White. And I know that he's had a book with you, but it's a different book, but I'm really, really enjoying that. And again, that's really witchy, and it's exactly the sort of thing that I really love. And yeah, kind of, I think anyone that likes my books will really like that. So that's about a girl called Cara, whose mum was a witch, and also Cara's kind of discovering that she's got these powers as well. So yeah, and the place that she lives it kind of reminds me a little bit of Crowstone as well. Like it's very cut off and sort of insular, and yeah, they're sort of cut off from other societies and they have to kind of follow these strict rules, and magic isn't part of that. So yeah, I've got like about 2 hours left on the audiobook, and I'm loving it.
Hilarious that you mentioned that. I'm actually listening to the audiobook of Nightbooks right now too. Also
Okay.
White.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got like 40 minutes left in that one, and it is ramping up.
Yeah.
Oh wow, I'll have to check those out.
Yeah, Nightbooks it was a previous OwlCrate pick, but it's a bit more modern one. But there is yet another witch in that one, so we got a nice theme going on here.
Yeah, you can never get too many witches. So there's always a different way to do it or a different story to tell. I never get bored of them.
I agree. I just wanted to shout out, we've got Haley says that she likes writing and she's making a book right now called Moonlight and Crystal. So she's made some mistakes, but so she still needs to edit it. That's I make loads of mistakes. Yeah. That's brilliant. Well done, Haley. Keep going till you get to the end and then go back and correct it all after. That's what I do. Absolutely. Jack, did you have a question, or are you? Yeah. Hold on one second. Shanleigh, did you have any other questions before we get to?
Not in the comments. So Jack, take her away.
Yeah.
When does the book take place? Like what time?
I've kind of been a little bit vague about that, but I would imagine it's kind of a little bit Victorian times. So like I don't mention things like TVs and cars and stuff like that, but it's sort of because it's like in a little bit of a fantasy world as well, but one that's quite close to our world. But I would say it's probably set like about 100 years ago from our time. So like Sorcerer's story in it again would be about 200 years ago. But yeah, I've tried to keep it that way.
And I also like how Charlie figured out how to time travel, trying to get like another.
Yeah. Good question, Jack.
I liked the fact that she did it while she was being greedy as well, and found a greedy solution.
It's a perfect idea, and I love how that just sort of like popped up.
I didn't know if it was too random at first, but I think I pulled it off, and most people liked what happened with that.
Yeah, I think it really showed what kind of character she was, not in a bad way. It's very interesting.
Yeah. Have you always wanted to be an author, or were you gonna become like an illustrator, or?
I wanted to be, well, first of all, I wanted to be an artist when I was a bit younger, and it's probably when I was about 14 that I started to feel like I wanted to write stories. So by the time I left school, when I was about 16, I wanted to write stories and illustrate them. So yeah, I kind of got my wish really, because I'm sort of doing that. But when I was really young, I wanted to be a pop star. But I'm actually quite shy, so I don't think I'd ever be able to do that. And I also can't sing at all, so that was probably not a good idea. And that was before the days of all the talent shows as well, like X Factor and all those kind of things. Yeah, we didn't have any of that, but yeah, I wanted to be a pop star at first.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Good question, Val.
Scarlett, did you have a question for us?
Yeah, how did you come up with the three sisters' names?
Well, it was kind of, well, I have a name book, a book of names on my shelf with all my reference workbooks I look through. And first of all, they actually all had different names. So first of all, Betty was called Bonnie Widdershins, and Felice was called Fenella. And it was only when actually one of my friends called their daughter Felicity and then started to call her Fliss, I thought, oh, actually that really works, like the whole Fliss kiss thing. So yeah, it was kind of an accident. And Charlie was actually always going to be a Charlotte, but originally she was called Lottie. And I thought Lottie sounds too sweet for Charlie. She needs to be a bit more of a tomboy. So yeah, she changed to Charlie. So yeah, there was a bit of evolution going along there, but I changed Bonnie to Betty after my mum, because everyone called her Betty. She was Elizabeth. So yeah, so she's named after my mum.
That's really nice. And Bunny, how did that come from?
Do you know what? I can't actually remember. Oh, Bunny. That was at one point one of my sisters was called Bunny as a nickname, and I'm not even sure why, but nobody calls her that anymore. I think it was more when she was a kid, and I just thought it was kind of, well, really odd, and just quite distinctive. And she's so, like, when you think of Bunny, you think of someone really kind of fluffy and sweet and lovely. And Granny's obviously, she's a good person, but she's certainly not fluffy and sweet. She's like a bit of a tyrant, I guess. So I just thought it was quite good to have like a bit of an ironic name for Bunny.
It sort of, yeah, like really created that character, but like not in the way that you would expect a character named Bunny to act, but it still works so well once you get to know her even a little bit.
Oh, I'm glad you think so.
I loved Granny. She was so funny.
Yeah, she's got some good lines in the next book as well.
Oh, excellent.
Well, I think we're nearing the end of this chat, everybody. So sort of last 5 minutes to get any final questions in. If you're not comfortable asking them on camera, you can just keep them going in the comments. But yeah, we are going to wrap up fairly soon. Yeah.
Wow, it's been lovely talking to you all, and I'm really glad that you joined us and for all your questions.
Yeah,
and thank you for all your posts, Val. Yeah, you're welcome. It was lovely to be part of it.
Looks like we've got another question from Val. Take it away, Val.
Yeah, how do you come up with the titles? Because I kind of noticed that it was like A and then like a sprinkle, a tangle, or like a pinch, and then like, you know, like the magic kind of thing. So how do you come up with the titles?
Oh, well, a lot of headaches and hair pulling and emails bouncing back from me and my publisher. The first one kind of came really easily, A Pinch of Magic. I came up with that. And the second one, it took us a while to get there with that, but it was actually my editor who came up with that. So I can't take any credit for that at all. My UK editor came up with that, and I'm so glad she did. So that was really lucky. And then, oh gosh, A Tangle of Spells just took us ages, and we had so many different things that sounded like recipes, like a dash of this and a twizzle of that, and it was getting really ridiculous in the end. And apparently at my publisher in the UK, they used to have like Friday afternoons where they'd kind of sit and have tea and biscuits and have about half an hour where they'd be trying to think of Widdershins book titles. So we have probably about 500 titles at the moment that are kind of written down in a big list, and hopefully there might be even more Widdershins books after that, and we can kind of pick off of that list. But yeah, we got eventually realized that we wanted to do something of spells, and I think I just went for a thesaurus in the end, and came across Tangle, and I thought, oh yes, that could work, and luckily they agreed. So yeah, it was half and half, yeah, for that one. So it was a lot of work.
To go with this long list of potential titles you have, I don't know if you already answered this, I apologize if you have, but I know you are working on the third, but it's not going to be a trilogy. It's an open-ended series, or?
Well, I would like it for each book to be as standalone as possible, so that you know, I try not to mention the past adventure too much for spoilers, and because backstory can get quite laborious and a bit much. And I just like it when there's, you know, like you get books with the same characters, a different adventure. That's how I want it to be. So definitely it's not set in stone that it's a trilogy. There is talk of possibly a fourth book in the pipeline. So, and it's really pesky actually, because I'm still trying to finish off the third book and I keep getting ideas for another one, which is a good sign. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Fingers crossed.
Okay.
I have to rub my lucky horseshoe that I've got in the kitchen, like Granny.
We got some good suggestions for titles as well. We have a hodgepodge of hexes from Gavin.
Oh,
Dash of Dreams from Val. Very good one.
I like that. I do like hodgepodge as well. That's a good one. We wanted to do something for a while. My editor suggested something of Hocus Pocus, and I absolutely love that. But we didn't end up going for that. But I'm still hopeful that there will be a Hocus Pocus book at some point. We'll see.
Well, it sounds like you got plenty of options if you needed to.
Yeah.
Like pluck one out and use.
Yeah, hopefully. I just need to kind of fit with the story.
Honeyglow has a triple-barreled question for you.
Okay.
How long did it take you to write the first book? Where is your favorite place to write? And while you're writing, music or no music?
Okay, good questions. So do you mean my first book as in the first Widdershins book, or my first ever book?
Pinch of Magic, I think.
Pinch of Magic. So A Pinch of Magic took about probably a year and a half to write a first draft of that. But that was actually because my parents were both very unwell when I was working on it. So it was very stop-start, and I was having to kind of go and do stuff for them, like care for them. So it took a lot longer than it should have done. And then obviously I had to do quite a lot of edits on it after that as well, because it was in a bit of a mess well, not a mess, but it needed a lot of work. So probably about 2 years in total for that book. Normally, some books I've written have been written in about 6 months. I've already forgotten the second question.
Where is your favorite place to write? And do you write with or without music in the background?
Right. Well, the music, no, I don't write with music on because I find it too distracting, but I absolutely love music. So I listen to it every opportunity, like when I'm cooking dinner, when I'm in the car, but I can't write when there's words on in the background because, yeah, I'll end up start writing the song lyrics out if I did that. I wish I was one of those people that could write with music on, but I just can't. And my favourite place to write, probably in my conservatory, which I've had recently kind of decorated, so it's all lovely in there. But the problem is with it that it gets really, really hot in the summer and absolutely freezing in the winter. So I usually end up just sitting in my armchair in the living room. And I keep saying that I'm going to get a proper writing desk and a writing chair because I'm not doing my back any good. But I always go back to the armchair.
Yeah. Well, especially if you're used to writing there now, I think it's just like it's so ingrained, right? Like that's
yeah.
what you gotta write.
Yeah, and my shape is kind of imprinted in the chair as well.
Oh, Jack also suggests a swish of superstitions. That's a good one. That sounds really good.
I especially like superstitions. There's so much of that in the stories. Yeah, great. Swish is good too.
Scarlett, did you want to ask another one?
How did you come up with Sorcia and Prue's names?
Okay, so Sorcia was, again, I made a bit of a list in my notebook from my names, my book of names, and I wrote down lots of names I liked as contenders. And then I came across Sorcia, and then I remembered this movie that I really loved when I was a kid called Willow. I don't know if you've heard of it. So it's like an 80s movie, and it's all about sorcery and magic and a baby that's kind of like, there's a prophecy that this baby's gonna like change the world and things. And one of the characters in it is called Sorcia, and I thought, that's a little bit of a tribute to that film, which is one of my favorite films. And then for Prue, I knew that I wanted something like quite a virtuous name, like Prudence, or Patience or Faith or something like that. But I knew that I wanted something, again, so with Bunny, something very opposite to what she was. So really, you know, she kind of comes across very good and wholesome when you first read about her, and you realise that she's not like that at all. So yeah, so she was quite easy to come up with. Nice. Good question.
Great question. All right, guys, I think we are going to leave it there. I think this is the biggest crowd we've ever had for one of these. Thank you all so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you.
We're gonna wrap it up now, but Michelle, if anyone wants to keep up to date on what you're doing, where's the best place for them to keep track of?
Probably Instagram or Twitter. I tend to sort of put most of my stuff on there. I do have a Facebook page as well, but no one really, that seems to be a bit quiet for some reason. I think it's all happening at Instagram at the moment. So I'm at Elveston, and I'm sure that you can find a link through OwlCrate to me on there. So yeah, there's lots of pictures and things going on there, and you can always message me and comment, and I'll answer your questions if you think of something else that you want to ask.
Great. All right. Well, everybody enjoy the rest of your day wherever you are joining us from, and we'll see you again next month.
Okay. Bye.
Nice
to talk to you. Bye.